Hey YouTube, this is Jeff with Jmeck Scope Mounts. Many of you have contacted me over the years asking me about what scope would work the best with my mounts. And the answer to that is there's a huge variety of scopes that you can use, but today I'd like to take some time and show you a few of my rifles and what I use. So let's take a look at a couple. What I'm going to show you first is the rifle that kind of started it all, and the scope that I have on it. Okay, and what I got here is it's a 9130, and this mount has the very first Jmeck steel low-profile scope mount. And I'm going to zoom up kind of close to this because it's the low-profile scope mount that I currently sell today is a bit different than this mount. This mount is absolutely the lowest scope mount that I've ever made, being that the rail is less than a half-inch up off of the receiver. And it's also a one-piece design. The base and the rail are all one piece. This mount proved to be very difficult and time-consuming to machine, so I only made a couple of them. This is the very first one, and has kind of a unique design to it, being that the rail isn't machined all the way across the top, just on each end. But this gun here, as far as scope, as you'll notice, it's got a blued steel scope on it. It's got a brass end cap, and this is a Weaver scope. This is a Weaver K2.5 German post reticle scope, and this rifle shoots great with it. I've had other scopes on this rifle on various other mounts that I have used and tested. The original steel see-through mount was on this rifle, and some of you that may have purchased a mount from me back on eBay might recognize this rifle. It was used in all my ads back when I used to advertise on eBay and sell scope mounts on eBay. And at that time, I had a Burris 2 to 7 power 40mm scope on it. So I had a modern scope on it at that time. But I come to find out that you don't really need a real powerful scope, and you can get by pretty good with just a 2.5 power scope. The Russians themselves, I mean, they only used a 3.5 power scope, and you know, they made some incredible sniper shots during the Second World War. A couple more things about this this rifle. It's got laminated stock, and this stock is very, very smooth to the touch. It's got hand-rubbed oil finish on it, so that's why it doesn't look red like they typically do with the shellac on it. This one's got a little bit more of a kind of a brownish look to it, but it's very smooth. Turned out great. This rifle is also a good shooter, a real good shooter. Has the Cyrillic writing on it. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a great gun to shoot. As far as groupings with this rifle and this scope, I've shot probably in the area of about a 3-inch group at 100 yards with just your factory ammo, which ain't too bad. Sometimes I shot a tighter group, sometimes not. So let's take a look at another rifle I got. Okay, this rifle here is also a 9130, and let me get my glasses here so I can see. This rifle here has a Weaver blued steel scope on it as well. This has the second generation of low-profile scope mount. It's a one-piece design, but as you can see, the rail is milled all the way across the top here. And this is very very sturdy mount, and one that I had laying around, so I stuck it on here. I like to keep things as low as possible. This scope on this is a 1.5 to 4.5 power scope. It's got a regular fine crosshair. This rifle has a custom-made cheek rest that I made. Has the barrel cut down to 22 inches. Has the factory rear iron sight on it, and you'll notice it has the front sight on there. And I added that front sight back onto the rifle, and I used a brass stacker. How about that? Another scope mount company giving a plug for another company's product. It's a brass stacker front sight mount. Bought it off eBay, and so I could get my front sight back on there in case I ever decided to remove the scope and just use the iron sights. This rifle also has a Timney trigger, and I tell you, out of all the things that I've put on a rifle for accuracy, this trigger, I tell you, it's unbelievable. It's awesome. I mean, just click. I mean, just super crisp, no creep. It's amazing. I haven't had a chance to shoot this rifle at 100 yards yet. I've shot it at a 50-yard indoor range here in North Carolina, not too far from Charlotte, and great place. And I have shot in an indoor range. I shot a 3-shot group that was 3/8 of an inch, so it looked like a clover leaf of 3 bullets. And so that's very impressive. So I think that this rifle, if I do my part, I was using hand loads at the time when I shot that group, but I think if I do my part, that this rifle here will definitely be able to shoot a 1-inch group at 100 yards. See, some other things about the stock. The stock I cut down, remounted. I don't know if you can tell on the front here. Made my own end cap piece and put that on there. Cut the handguard down and remounted the brass piece on the end to make it look, you know, give it that kind of factory look. And the finish on this is a really dark stain that I just kind of splotched on there. It's got 3 coats of shellac, and then I just kind of roughed up the shellac with some steel wool a little bit to take away all the shine, to kind of give it that been there, done that type look. And I tell you, like I said, it's a great shooter. This rifle here has a bolt handle that is made by Max Shepard. You'll find him on the internet. He's also on my website. Does great work. This is a bolt handle that he made. I highly recommend him if you're needing a bolt handle. All right, let's take a look at another rifle. Probably the most unique Mosin Nagant that I have that has a scope mount on it. So let's take a look at it next. All right. Okay. I don't know how well you can see that. Pretty good, I hope. This rifle here is a Finnish M39. And let's see a few things about this rifle. This has my standard 2-piece low-profile scope mount. It's got a Weaver K4 scope on it, blued steel scope. And this scope also has a German post reticle in it, and this rifle shoots awesome. What I did to make this stock is I took a stock that I bought off of eBay. It was just it was advertised as just a hardwood sporter stock, and I think it's one of the stocks that came from Numerich.com. They sell a bunch of rifle parts, and what I did is I added a piece to it. If you take a look right here, you can see that flush on the bottom, there's a different piece of wood in there. And so I added a piece of walnut to the front end and extended it out, added the finish nose cap and bayonet mount on the end, took the same walnut that I had, walnut board, and made a handguard, and just shaped it by hand partly, and also using a belt sander. As a matter of fact, I'll show you a picture of the belt sander. That's the belt sander I used right there. And anyhow, I used a belt sander and shaped the stock, and mounted a recoil pad on it, so it's got a recoil pad on it. And this rifle is a dream to shoot. This rifle I have shot, I think it was a 3/4 inch group, around 3/4, 1 inch group at 100 yards. So it's very accurate. This is a bolt handle that I made myself, and I blued it. Went with a blued steel look. It almost turned out black. Just I blued it so many times, it turned out about black, just like the rifle's finish. So it matches real well. This rifle has a good trigger as well, being that it's the finished 2-stage trigger. Not as good as the Timney trigger, but still a pretty decent trigger. So so there you have it. The Mosin Nagants that I have scoped all have vintage Weaver scopes on blued steel, and I go with that because I don't really need a high power scope. When I go shooting, I shoot with a spotting scope, so if I want to see where I've hit my targets, I just look through my spotting scope. I don't rely on the scope to be able to see where I've hit. And they just look good with the rifle. It kind of gives it that classic old-timey look, which is kind of the look that I'm going for. But, you know, put the scope on there that you're happy with, is what I tell customers. You know, put a typical 3x9 by 40 millimeter on there, or, you know, 3-9 by 50 millimeter if you're wanting a real big field of view. You know, whatever makes you happy. The mount works good with all of them. You just got to keep in mind that the bigger the scope, the higher up it's got to be, so it doesn't come in contact with the rifle. So it'll affect your cheek support a little bit, especially if you're shooting a Mosin Nagant in a factory stock. Well, just wanted to show you what I use and talk about it a little bit. So until next time, take care.